So welcome to this session, RSL presenting our professional diplomas with a particular focus on the performance pathway of our diplomas.
所以欢迎大家参加今天的这个网络研讨会。我们今天这一场呢是专门针对 RSL 专业文凭里边表演方向的这个发展渠道的。
My name is Alistair Platt, and I am the Director of Business Development at RSL Awards. I'm joined here by an RSL friend and long-standing colleague of ours, Alex Forian, who is a drum teacher himself, and the translation is being provided by Lilian Lan, who is our VP in China and runs our operation in mainland China.
今天我们这个活动的主持人是 Alistair Platt， 他是 RSL 负责业务发展的总监。然后今天也请到了我们跟 RSL 有很长时间合作关系的鼓手和教育家 Alex Forian 来做今天的这个讲座。那么我呢，来提供这个翻译，因为技术问题今天做不了同声传译，所以给大家做这个也是帮大家做一下这个翻译。我是蓝小英，丽莲兰是 RSL 的副总裁，负责中国大陆的业务。
So a key tenet and a key pillar of what we do at RSL is thinking about progression, and we provide materials and structures and qualifications to take learners from very, very beginner stages right up through to becoming very, very advanced. And today we're focusing on that advanced end of our scale. What do you do after grade 8?
那 RSL 致力于提供循序渐进的，让每个人都能够按阶梯来进步的这样的一些资格考试项目。那么今天我们要给大家介绍的呢，就是在你考过8级之后，还有哪些更高等级的资格你可以去获取。
So we have these professional diplomas that sit at level 4 and level 6. And level 4 is the equivalent of your 14th year of standard education, and level 6 is the equivalent to a bachelor's degree level.
今天要介绍的是 RSL 专业4级和专业6级的文凭。专业4级呢是相当于英国大学本科第1年末的学历，专业6级是相当于英国大学本科学位的这样的一个同等学历。
So our professional diplomas have different pathways. We have a teaching pathway, a performance pathway that we're going to concentrate on today, and particularly thinking around the drums. As you can see, Alex is sitting there with a drum kit. And there's also a creative enterprise pathway.
RSL 的专业4、6级文凭共分有3个专业方向。第一个专业方向是师资方向，第二个专业方向是表演，也就是乐手这个方向。今天我们重点要讲的就是乐手方向里边的鼓手专业。大家也可以看到，今天 Alex 是带着坐在一套架子鼓面前。还有一个第3个专业方向是创意产业方向。
So the objective of today is to really get into some of the details of this performance pathway diploma and just make it clear exactly what we're looking for and what we're trying to get learners to show us to be able to attempt this qualification. And Alex has worked a lot on lots of different communication around these diplomas and is truly the expert that we could bring to you. So I'm really pleased that he could be here today, and I hope it's a great session that you all learn lots from.
今天我们重点要介绍的就是表演方向里边，鼓手、架子鼓鼓手是应该如何的去尝试这些文凭里边的内容，然后怎么样去备考。所以接下来呢，我们就把时间交给 Alex， 请他来给我们详细的介绍。
And last thing from me is please use the Q&A section. I will answer as many questions as I can in English, and we'll come back to them at the end. So we've got lots of participants on here. We won't take the questions as we go, and we'll have a question and answer session at the end. So thank you very much, and I hand over to you, Alex.
今天也欢迎大家呢，能够在最后我们有一个问答环节，提出你的问题。到时候Alistair 还会在线，他会尽量的回答大家的问题，但是因为时间有限呢，可能不能够回答所有人的问题。那么接下来我们还是把时间交给 Alex。
Thank you very much, Alistair, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone that's tuned into this webinar today. There is a slide presentation that I will show you.
好，欢迎大家参加今天的这个讲座。大家下午好，或者是早上好，因为英国现在是早上。那现在它有一些资料要给大家分享。
Okay, I'll just pull that up and so you can see it, and then one
稍等，
second.
它现在屏幕。
One second. Where's that gone? That's disappeared at the moment, I'm afraid. One second. Can you see my screen, Alistair?
Now you've just stop sharing. It looked like it's loading. You started the screen.
There he is. Can
Yes.
you see that?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, good. Right. Good morning, everybody. Yes, here we go. Right. So, as Alistair said, the performance diploma at level 4 and level 6 is the ideal progression from when I've got learners that have come right through the graded syllabus from debut up to grade 8. This is the ideal sort of pathway to go on to move into that advanced area.
他刚才说呢，这个专业4、6级的文凭对于鼓手来说是非常理想的，能够证明你的这个专业表演技能的这样一个资格证书。
The performance pathway, as Alistair said, is one of 3 pathways on the professional diplomas at level 4 and level 6.
像刚才Alistair 介绍的，表演方向是专业4、6级文凭3个方向当中的一个。
The diplomas are made up of core units, mandatory units that must be taken, either 2 or 3 units, and then with the addition of 1 optional unit to make up a 4-unit qualification.
这些资格考试呢，它是由必修单元和选修单元组成的。有的必修单元是2到3个，对，必修单元是2个或者3个，外加一个选修单元，所以一共你要完成这个文凭，要完成3到4个单元的学习。
Now, the performance pathway is slightly different to the other 2 pathways because it contains a double unit focused around performance, as you would imagine.
但是表演方向的这个途径呢，它跟另外2个方向不太一样，因为它其中有一个是叫做双单元。
So, the performance unit, which is advanced repertoire and technical skills, which you can see on the screen at the moment, consists of 20 hours of what is called guided learning hours, which would be time that you would spend with a teacher or a mentor or a coach.
具体在这个表演方向呢，我们先看第一个必修单元叫高级作品表演和技巧，它的一个建议的常规学习时长是20个小时。这20个小时是指你跟着一个导师或者一个专业老师进行学习的这样一个时间。
Now, the total hours for this double unit are 200 hours of learning, of practice, of work, of learner-led work. So we're looking really for the learners to have carried out 200 hours of work for this unit.
这个单元要花的时间呢，也是其他单元的2倍，所以大家可以看到，全部学习和练习的时间加起来一共是200个小时。这里边是包含了你跟老师学习的时间，还有你自己练习的时间。
And that is the same for PD 401, which is the advanced repertoire and technical skills at level 4, and PD 601, which is the advanced repertoire and technical skills at level 6.
这个必修单元就是高级作品表演 高进作品表演和技巧，它既是专业4级的必修单元，它的单元编号是 PD401，同时它也是专业6级文凭表演方向的必修单元，那个单元编号是 PD601。
The other unit, which is a mandatory unit, which is a core unit which must be taken by the student, by the learners, is either PD404 or PD604, which is artist analysis, which is a 10-hour guided learning unit. Therefore, you would spend 10 hours with your mentor, coach, or teacher, followed by the overall time spent on this unit, which would be another 100 hours.
另外一个表演方向的必修单元，它的单元编号是专业4级，编号 PD404，专业6级的编号是 PD604。这个单元的名称叫做作家作品分析。大家可以看到呢，它的常规建议学习时长是10个小时，就是跟老师完成的这个学习时间，全部的学习和练习时长是100个小时。
Now, these 2 units work really well together because it enables the learner to really study a style or an artist and really immerse themselves in that artist and the kind of music that they're producing and replicate it to that very high level.
这2个单元对于表演方向呢，特别是乐手来讲是非常关键和实用的，因为你可以在这2个单元当中充分的去利用你所学的、你所掌握的技能，同时呢，能够在这个单元的学习表演的过程中、准备过程中来复制你的这些高级技巧和你已经掌握的这些东西。
So as you can see from this slide, when I'm teaching this, there is a definite crossover between 401 or 601 and 404 and 604, where you're looking at advanced repertoire and obviously an artist that has gained that level of mastery. And it's often a really good place to study where you're using some of the repertoire for your advanced repertoire skills and some of the repertoire for your performance for the artist analysis unit.
这2个单元是有非常强的关联性的，大家可以看到这张图上边它是有交集的。在我自己讲授这个单元的内容的时候呢，我可以告诉你说，你在 PD401 表演单元里边所用到的曲目，就和这个作曲家和曲目，就可以在 PD404 单元里拿来作为这个作家作品分析。
Particularly 401, but both units talk about an extensive vocabulary of musical skills, which you can see on the screen at the moment. Now, in this example, I've used what would be considered to be advanced vocabulary skills for the drum kit, for the acoustic drum kit. This is not an endless list, as you can see on the screen. We might be talking about linear grooves. We might be talking about advanced phrasing with some of the music. We might be talking about double bass drum techniques. We might even be moving into a kind of jazz study where we're looking at kind of jazz, big band and bebop charts, or we might be looking at some odd time signature playing in the style of, say, Dream Theater or Avenged Sevenfold, if you're into that kind of heavy metal rock kind of stylistic study.
这个表演单元里边，它最强调的一条就是说，乐手要用到广泛的音乐技巧语汇。那对于鼓手而言呢，广泛的音乐语汇可以指在屏幕上大家看到的线性节奏、高水平乐句、笛鼓双踩技巧、爵士乐里边的大乐队和比波谱的乐谱，另外还有基数拍号。如果你很喜欢这个重金属风格，那么梦剧院乐队、7级炼狱乐队可能就是你的首选。当然这个清单呢，这个广泛的音乐语汇清单可以是非常长的，我这里只是举一些例子来说明一下。
We also need to show an advanced sort of technical mastery of the skill on the drum kit, and the units very much want you to show your own personal style in performance. So the units don't want the learners to just replicate what they're seeing or what their artists are doing. They want to see their own personal style. Now, in drum kit, we might be studying people like Dave Weckl from a jazz fusion kind of rock area. We might be looking at Mike Mangini if we're into that heavy metal rock kind of odd time signature thing. It might be, again, some old school, some older Dream Theater stuff with Mike Portnoy on drums. If we're into more jazz and kind of soul, kind of West Coast American soul, then we might be looking at maybe Steve Gadd or Jeff Porcaro, very much in that Steely Dan moment. If we're talking about pure funk and linear grooves, we might be talking about David Garibaldi. If we're moving into that kind of fusion area, it might be a study of Billy Cobham, or coming bang up to date with bands like Snarky Puppy with Lionel Lewis and some of the things that he's doing. Or if you really wanted to stay completely in a jazz mode, you might want to play some sort of, make a study of a contemporary jazz artist like Nate Smith playing jazz drum kit. All of these styles could be studied for both units. So for 401 and for 404, you could make an artistic study of any one of these drummers, and you could also make it part of your performance repertoire unit.
这一页它主要介绍的是，在你在准备这个401这个单元，也就是表演单元的时候，你不光是要体现你的精湛的表演技巧，不光是说把你所挑选的曲目能够完整的复制出来，同时我们要看到你在这当中要体现你的个性化风格和阐释和对风格的理解与解读。以下这些鼓手的风格的高级曲目呢，都是作为例子，你可以用来准备，是我们来告诉你说你可以用到哪些曲目。例如像 Dave Weckl， 你如果挑选的是爵士乐、摇滚和融合风格，那么你可能会选择 Dave Weckl 的作品。另外呢，像如果喜欢金属风格、摇滚风格的，可能是这个Mike Mangini 或者是梦剧院早期比较传统的这个摇滚风格是 Mike Portnoy， 这都是你的首选。如果你喜欢的是西海岸风格、灵魂乐、爵士乐混搭的这样的一些曲目，那么你有 Steve Gadd 和 Jeff Porcaro 可以选。还有像那个 Funk 线性 Funk 这个风格，你有 David Garibaldi 可以选，这个是权力之塔乐队的鼓手。另外还有像融合的这个融合乐爵士乐大师，像 Billy Cobham 也是你可以选择的。那么另外还有其他的2位鼓手，大家可以从屏幕上看到这些鼓手的作品，你都可以用来准备你的401单元，也就是表演单元的内容。同时在准备作家作品分析单元的时候，你还可以用到同样的这位鼓手和他的作品。Alex.
Okay, thank you, Lillian. Okay, so the drummers that are on the screen at the moment are drummers that when I've been teaching this unit to both units to my drum students, once they've gone beyond grade 8, these are the sort of artists that we have been studying, and we've had some really good results with these kind of studies.
这些鼓手呢，在这个清单上的这些鼓手都是超越了8级水平的，所以你如果用这些，我们之前也有用这些作家作品来参加文凭的考试，都是非常的这个实用的。Alex.
Now, apologies, this is a very wordy slide. There's lots of words on this slide. This comes directly from the unit specifications from RSL.
这一页呢字数非常多，显得很满。这些内容因为它都是从我们的文凭考纲里边直接节选出来的。如果你手里有这个专业4级文凭考纲的话，你可以看到它是在第20页。
But I'm only really using it as an example to show you that right up at the top of the kind of things that they're looking for, but especially for 401, are for the learners to show technical mastery, personal style in their performance, and an extensive vocabulary of musical skills. So what I want learners to really focus on is that they're the two key elements to this unit that we're trying to demonstrate.
所以这个也可以看到，这个是超越8级的一个难度。在演奏当中呢，它在这个这张片子上，它有特别强调了2个东西，一个是这个精湛的技巧，再有一个是个人的风格，还有一个呢就是说你的广泛的音乐语汇，或者是说如果是舞蹈者的话，就是这个舞蹈语汇。
For the assessment evidence for 401, so this is the evidence that you will be submitting to be marked for your overall grade for this unit. You can see that for 401, as an example here, you need to produce a performance video, an unedited performance video of 25 minutes, which is 30 minutes if we go up to the grades, not grade, to the level 6 level. So we're looking at a performance video, an unedited one shot performance video of 25 minutes, a 25-minute performance or a 30-minute performance, depending on whether it's at level 4 or level 6.
这一篇讲的是说你在单元401表演单元，你要提供什么样的作业？你要提供的作业是不短于25分钟的一个表演视频。那么如果你报考的是专业6级呢，视频的长度就是30分钟。
And another key element of this unit, as you can see, is that once you as the drummer has performed your 25-minute performance, what the marking panel are going to be looking for is you evaluating your own performance and saying what was good, what your strengths are, what's good, and also the areas that you think you could improve upon, and then really importantly how you could go and improve those elements in terms of more practice, seeking out more music, different teachers, practicing certain techniques.
另外，在这个视频当中，你还要包括除了你要演奏架子鼓之外，你还要包括对自己做一个自我评价，指出自己在表演当中，刚才的表演当中哪些地方做得好，还有哪些地方可以有进一步提高。例如你可以说自己有哪些特别的技巧，还需要再多加练习等等。Alex.
And it's often a forgotten part of this unit where, from the learner's point of view, they put a lot of emphasis on the actual performance, of course, but they should not forget the fact that as important in the overall scheme of things for this unit is their evaluation, and the marking panel are looking for an evaluation that is honest and quite informed. So you can examine the skills that and some of the techniques that you've used and talk about how you would continue to improve those in the future.
所以大家在这个地方一定要注意，不光是要提交你的演奏视频，你的关注点不光是要集中在自己的表演上面，同时呢，你对自己的评价自评是不是够清晰、诚恳、够客观，同时有足够的信息，对自己的实际情况和水平有一个清晰的认识，这个也是考官要看的。
And that is one of the differences between getting to grade 8, where you are very much led by your teacher and they're showing you what to do and you're doing what the teacher has told you to do. At this level, we're really looking for learners to be able to put a performance together, but also provide their own evaluation and set new goals for themselves in the future.
这也就是和第8级最大的一个区别。在学习第8级的时候，考生都是在跟着老师的带领下，老师告诉你该做什么，你就做什么。那么到了专业4级或者是6级的时候呢，你要有足够的自我意识，能够自己知道自己在做什么，然后哪些地方做得好，哪些地方可以进一步提高。
Now again, as part of the package you'll get as a learner, you will get information from the examining panel that they have produced some guidance notes which really break down exactly what they're looking for when they're going to be assessing your submission. So once you've done your 25-minute or 30-minute performance and your evaluation, you will be able to map what you've done against exactly what the examinations panel are looking for. And if you find that there isn't, there's pieces missing, then it enables you to make those corrections before you send it in, and to make sure that you get the highest mark possible.
那么在你报名参加这个文凭考试的时候呢，你其实是会获得足够丰富的这个材料，叫你来准备，包括考官的评分标准。所以在你录制完了自己的视频之后，你可以拿着考官的评估标准来对照你的视频，看看考官要看的内容是不是你都录进去了。如果有哪些地方做的不够，你可能还需要重新录制。当然前面他也有讲到说，你录的视频必须是不可以编辑的。不可以后期制作的。Alex.
And just to finally say that what is on the screen at the moment, which I won't read, is taken directly from the guidance notes. So hopefully you can see there that it's very specific. It gives you very clear instructions of what you need to submit to gain the highest possible mark available.
在屏幕上的这些内容呢，都是从考纲说明当中直接摘取出来的。这个信息大家可以看到，它其实描述的都是比较具体，所以你一定要尽可能的完善的去准备你要提交的这个视频材料，保证这样才能够保证你自己能够获得足够的这个够高的分数。
Now, if we do exactly the same analysis for 404 for the artist analysis, you'll see that there is analysis of the key individual. So you will need to do some background study on the artist that you're choosing to study. Lillian?
Yep.
And there is also a performance element of this unit. So you will still need to produce an additional performance video where you are performing in the style of or influenced by the artist that you're talking about, and that performance needs to be 25 minutes at level 4 or 15 minutes at level 4 or 20 minutes at level 6.
现在大家看到的是单元404，也就是作家作品评估这个单元所需要的提交的资料。在这个单元呢，你要提交不短于15到20分钟的一个表演视频。在这里边，你除了要表演这个你所喜爱的艺术家的作品之外，你还要对这个作曲家的背景进行一定的这个了解和然后要解说他对你都有哪些重要的影响。然后同时在你的表演当中呢，你要把他对你的影响体现出来。
And again, you are provided with guidance notes from the examinations panel, who will tell you exactly what you need to produce to gain to gain the highest mark available. So it will really break down so you can map what you're producing against what the examinations panel are expecting to see to ensure that you've got everything there and make sure that you're going to get the highest mark possible.
这个环节跟刚才提到的401单元是一样的，同样你会获得考官的评估标准的一个详细的说明，所以你可以拿评估标准跟你提交的视频，准备要提交的视频进行充分的比对，看看你是不是满足了所有的要求。
And it's quite, as you can see, it's quite extensive. So it enables the learners to really map up their work against what they're submitting to make sure that everything is covered.
所以你可以看到这些要求呢，它的那个覆盖面是比较广的。你在提交之前一定要充分的检查好你的这个作业是不是涵盖了所有的内容，这样你才可以至少得到一个及格的分数。Alex.
Now, I've jumped one. Okay. Now, I'm going to try and play you an example of one of the tunes that I use as a drummer, as a drum teacher at the level 4 level for some of my learners. So hopefully I'm going to be able to show you a Dave Weckl track. Now, the writing at the top of here, so the words at the top you'll see are again taken from the guidance that you'll get from the examinations panel.
好，接下来我会给大家演示的是 Dave Weckl 的一首曲目，然后大家在屏幕上看到的就是我在这个单元401所做的一个示范，我对这个作品做的一个分析。
And you can see that the examinations panel have shown you exactly the kind of information they're looking for. So they're looking for a rationale for the performance, the aims of the performance, and really for some information about where the performance comes from and the techniques that are being demonstrated. Now, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the writing in white. Now, I've taken that information from the book that I got the chart from. So often there is a lot of information and a lot of further reading available to the learners to be able to put together all the information they need to accompany their performance, which again is different to grade 8 because it requires the learners to do a lot more research and a lot more of their own study time to really find out more about the styles and techniques that they're demonstrating.
所以你在选择你的表演作品的时候，你一定要知道你选择这个作品的你的逻辑，还有你的理由。另外你要选择它的这个目的。总之你要把这个信息它都这些提示写在这个片子上。然后底下这2块白的这个区域，这个文字呢，是从 Dave Weckl 的自己的一本书，这本书名字应该是叫《花园墙》，是他的一本比较高级的乐谱，是从这个书里边 Dave Weckl 自己写的这样的一段话。他把这些话就摘抄在这里。所以呢，你如果参加专业文凭的考试的话，确实是需要你自己花比较多的时间去做一些研究，还要花时间去做一些自学。Alex.
And finally, just to remind you that because we are working at degree level now, so we are looking at either a foundation degree level at level 4 or a kind of bachelor's master's level at level 6, all of the referencing that we use, as all of the referencing that the learners use, needs to be correctly referenced so that those citations and references can be tracked by the examinations panel. In Harvard, as the example on the screen is Harvard referencing exactly where I got the information from in the last example and how it should be presented in the final submission by the learner.
因为大家现在报名参加4、6级文凭的时候呢，意味着你已经进入了一个大学本科同等学历的这样的一个学习，所以在你提交你的论文的时候，相当于提交你的论文了。那么你的论文里边所有用到的这个你所引用的作品和这个陈述的出处，你都必须按照这个哈佛引文格式来进行注释，就是像屏幕上展示的这样，要有作者姓名、出版年代，然后出版物名称、出版国家、出版社名称，还有页号，必须完整的进行这个注释。刚才有一个我说错了，他那个 Dave Weckl 那本书是那个当代鼓手加一，我记得里边有一首曲子叫《花园墙》，记错了。好 ，Alex。
Now, as you can see, I'm not expecting anybody to read this chart as I'm playing, but you can see on this chart that there are a lot of slash bars, there's a lot of phrasing, but there's also a lot of room for improvisation and interpretation, which at level 4 is the kind of thing that the examinations panel are looking for. You will need to send in a chart or a score of the performance that you're providing on your video, on your performance video.
这个是从他今天要演奏的这个 Dave Weckl 的这首曲目，从刚才前面那本书里摘的这首曲目，你可以看到这里边有很多的那个乐句，另外还有很多画斜线的部分是需要你做这个即兴演奏的。那么你在提交你的演奏视频的时候，也一定要记得提交你所使用的这个乐谱。
Okay, now hopefully you should be able to see. Can you see me now, Lillian? Can you see me full screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Not yet full screen. I can still see the other 2 logos.
Can you see me now? Can you pin me?
Yes.
Yeah. Now I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Now, Lillian, I think I'm going to come off of headphones and I'm going to go to normal sound, if that's okay with you.
Okay, sure.
So I think you should be able to hear me a little bit better on that.
Okay.
Can you? Okay.
Alex, you're very quiet now.
Try and get louder. Is that louder now?
Better. No drum sound. No drum sound. Yeah, now we're good.
Right. Apologies for that. Okay. Hopefully you should be able to hear this. So this is a Dave Weckl track that I would use for a level 4 performance video.
他现在要演奏是 Dave Weckl 一首曲目，是符合专业4级要求的难度要求的。
Alex, can I interrupt? I think you need to put your headphones on for speaking, my friend. And we couldn't hear the backing track all that well when you were playing there, but I was loving the grooves.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
On the headphones, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. What I'll do, Lillian, is I will record myself playing, and I'll send you a video of that so you can share it with the participants if you want to.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, going back to the presentation. So obviously, I didn't expect anybody to follow the chart or to go through that, but you can see that playing level, where there's a level of improvisation and there's a level of phrasing, is the kind of thing that we're looking for at level 4.
刚才并没有说要求大家在我打的时候一起来看乐谱，来跟着看乐谱。但是大家从这个乐谱可以看到，说他对这个即兴和独奏的要求呢，可以从这当中看到这个要求的这样的一个状况。
Again, if we move that up then to level 6. This would be an example of something that I would be showing my learners for at level 6. So again, you will get guidance from the exams panel as exactly the kind of information they're looking for to set up that performance.
现在要给大家演示的是单元6.4作品分析的这样的一个作品，也是你同样是可以拿到一份那个考官的评估标准，所以你要按照评估标准去准备你的作品，还有你要提交的内容。
And again, I've taken a lot of the information that is required to show background research and really to state your aims and your intention about the performance. And I've taken a lot of that information again from the book that I got the chart from. So a lot of this information is available out there for learners to do additional research and then reference it within their submission.
所以这个地方呢，你也可以看到我贴在这里的内容呢，其实都是从我所选择的曲目的这本书里边摘抄出来。所以你可以看到说，在你选择曲目的时候，你是有很多的信息可以参照，同时你自己也要做很多的线下的这些相应的一些研究。
And again, that would need to be referenced correctly, and as I have done here, using Harvard referencing.
同样的，当你引用到乐谱或者陈述的时候，一定要按哈佛引文格式进行注释，把这个出处都写清楚，按照统一的格式写清楚。
Now, as you can see, again, I'm not expecting anybody to read this chart because it's very prescriptive. Every bar is written and every bar is different.
给大家只是展示一下这个乐谱，当然也不希望说我演奏的时候大家要跟谱啊，因为你可以看到这是一个手写乐谱，而且那个每一小节都是手写的，也很密密麻麻的。
But hopefully you can see that there is a notable difference between the kind of advanced charts that we would see at level 4 and then the very advanced, very prescriptive charts that we would use at level 6.
这里边大家也可以看到一个初看上去都会看到一个区别，就是说当到了专业6级的时候，所要求的这个难度，它这里边呢其实每一个小节都不太一样。
Okay, I'll just come off this for a second. So coming off of headphones again.
那现在他要把这个耳机再摘下来，然后开始演奏，准备演奏。他稍后会把那个刚才的演奏再录制下来，再分享给我们。
So can you hear this?
Yes.
Yep. I'm gonna is the chart. Can you hear the track, Lily? If I play the track, can you just hear it? Is that loud enough?
Yeah. Not loud enough, I'm afraid.
Okay, I can turn it up. So, all right, I'll give it a little bit more volume. So to set this up then, Lillian, so this is the sort of thing that we would be expecting at level 6 for the drummers.
这是第6集，希望大家。
Is that slightly better?
Yeah, I thought that's better to me. Thank you.
Okay, so coming back onto headphones, hopefully you can still hear me.
Yes. Yes.
So again, I didn't play the whole chart there, but you can see that at level 6, we're looking for a much higher, more advanced level of playing where we've stated the intent and we are producing a performance video that is very close to that being played. So in this instance, this would be a study around David Garibaldi's playing and Tower of Power. And I would explain how I'm using linear grooves. I'm using 2 hi-hats. So there's advanced levels of kit setup and techniques used.
那这就是一个大概是在专业6级的这样的一个难度的作品。大家可以看到说我在演奏这首作品的时候，我选的是一个David Garibaldi 是权力之塔乐队的鼓手，他是一个 funk 风格的鼓手。为了配合这种风格呢，我在我的个人意识方面选择上边，我设置了一方面是用了线性的这个节奏型，另一方面我也选择了2个踩场，所以从这个整个鼓组的设置上也是符合专业6级这样一个难度的要求的。
Any repertoire that is used by the learners at both level 4 and level 6 needs to go through the RSL repertoire approval process, where there is a form that the learners must fill in stating exactly what is being played, the techniques that are being shown, and any other information surrounding that performance.
在大家录制自己的作品之前，不管你是考的专业4级还是专业6级，你选定曲目之后，一定要把这个曲目给它提交到 RSL 进行批准。这个呢 ，RSL 是有一个提交的一个模板，你要用这个模板来提交所有你选择的作品。
So hopefully that's given you an insight into the kinds of things that you would be playing at level 4 and level 6 from a drums point of view. Obviously translate over to the other contemporary musical instrument disciplines, where at level 4 you're looking at things that are above grade 8, which require a high level of advanced playing.
所以今天给大家介绍的呢，就是说以鼓手为例，给大家讲解一下表演方向的文凭，你需要达到一个什么样的水平？另外，你要从哪几个角度去准备？当然，这只是架子鼓。那么，对于其他乐器来讲呢，它的准备的方式，还有这些要点都是相同的。
And that will then carry on into level 6, where the level of playing is going to be a little bit higher, but the stated intent is going to be more advanced, and then the research and rationale and evaluation will be obviously at that even higher level.
对于专业6级来讲，它的难度都是增加的，不管是说从你的曲目的难度，还有你评估的对这些深度，还有你做自学和研究所需要的时间，还有这个打分的这个打分的标准都是更加有一个提升的。
Now, as we said, that the level 4 and level 6 professional diplomas are made up of 4 units. In the performance pathway that we've been talking around today, there is 1 double unit. So that counts as a double unit. So that you've got 401 or 601, which is the performance unit. You've got 404, which is the artist analysis unit. And then learners get to choose another optional unit.
像刚才所讲那个，我们的这个文凭呢是包含了4个单元的。那么其中高级作品表演和技巧呢，因为它的时间长度的关系，它相当于2个单元。所以你在选择作家作品分析和这个高级作品表演作为表演方向的必修单元之外，你还有一个选修单元。
Now this is an area where the learner will probably need access to a mentor or a coach or a teacher to decide which kind of direction that the learner wishes to go on. They could continue on a more performance pathway and look at it maybe doing another advanced technical study in another instrument, which would be pitched at about grade 6.
这些自选单元呢，也是老师考生你可以自选的。如果你是倾向于表演专业，同时你又会第二种乐器，可能你的选择就是高级作品表演和技巧的第二专业，选择另外一件乐器。
Or the learners could choose an alternative direction to, or to study in, so they could look to a more entrepreneurial focus going forward. So they could look at enterprise or entrepreneurship, or looking at marketing themselves as a creative professional, as a drummer, as a brand, so that using marketing materials to push themselves forward.
如果考生他自己比较擅长的或者他希望的这个方向呢是自己创业，那么他可以选的自选单元呢，有可能是企业和创业或者创意产业人士的自我推广等等。
Or the learners alternatively could choose a slightly more holistic approach, which we've seen more interest in, obviously post-pandemic, post-COVID-19. So learners could look at maybe self-care professional, creative professionals, which looks at how we are going to maintain both mental and physical health as musicians, as creative professionals, as drummers.
另外呢，我们还有一些比较多元化的自选单元供参考。特别是在这个新冠疫情期间，我们要注意的就是像其中有一个单元叫做创意产业人士的自我保障。例如是说在个人健康如何保持个人健康等等方面，都要注意哪些事情，这个也是一个可选单元。
So hopefully, as you can see from this, the level 4 and the level 6 diplomas are that ideal progression route for our learners, our students that have gone from, through the graded syllabus up to grade 8. They've reached that level where they can play at grade 8, and then this gives them the ideal opportunity to really study, really focus now on gaining mastery on their instrument, and also gaining lots of back knowledge and some further research alongside a potential another focus, so entrepreneurship or holistic study, or even continuing on a second study. And I found from my learners that it really is the perfect vehicle to take learners from the graded syllabus up to grade 8 and then beyond, and really keeps them focused. As you've seen, there is a requirement for input from a teacher, and there's up to 100, 200, 400 hours for the whole qualification.
所以整个这个文凭的学习呢，它其实是在专业8级的基础上，还有一个更加这个精专方向的这样的一个提升。它对个人的要求，不管你是作为一个表演者，你在掌握了一项乐器之后，可能还需要掌握了另外一个乐器，你可以在这个环节，在这个文凭的考试当中呢，来展示你的这个演奏的表演的能力。另外呢，也可以展示说培养你或者展示你在创业和企业创业方面的一些能力和这个意识。因为这个学习时间也蛮长，所以它在超越了8级之后呢，因为我们8级应该是320个小时，如果没记错的话，那么在这个专业4级的时候呢，你至少需要有一个400个小时，推荐400个小时的学习和练习的时间。
So that really is that's me taking a very, very quick look through the level 4 and level 6 professional diplomas. If you do have any questions, then please do fire them across. As I said, I've got experience of teaching this over all 3 areas, both the creative enterprise, the performance area from a drum kit point of view, and from a teaching point of view. So it really does give you that full rounded approach for learners to go on and progress within their musical careers.
看看大家有没有什么问题可以在这里提出。那我们今天的讲师他本人呢也一直在教授RSL 的这个文凭课程，他也是有学生在这方面在学习的。所以根据个人经验呢，他也认为说，文凭的这个学习确实是能够把这个学习者培养成一个非常全面而且专业的这样的一个音乐行业的从业者。
Okay. Great. Thank you very much, Alex and Lillian, for the translations there. We've got a few questions, Alex, let's look to address here. The
Sure.
first one is, What's the name of that publication by Dave Weckl? Sorry.
The Dave Weckl track was called Spur of the Moment.
And where was it in a publication?
Yeah, there's a book.
One.
Both I used for both of the examples. I used material that is readily available. So the Dave Weckl comes from a Dave Weckl book called Contemporary Drummer Plus One. And the David Garibaldi track comes from a book called it's the Code of Funk by David Garibaldi. So I've used material that is readily available that you can get, because often a question that is asked at this level is, where do I get the charts from? How do I know what, where do I find the music? Where do I find the backing tracks? I find that unless my learners have very good knowledge of music production skills and can create their own tracks, it's often good to get established tracks without the drums in, or without the lead instrument in, so that the learner can really demonstrate the skills. The performance, the panel don't really want to see musicians playing along with tracks that have that instrument already on them, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Okay, there is a few questions on the same sort of level, which is this best approach? Are these diplomas best approached through self-study, or would you recommend mentorship or some kind of specific course?
I completely 100% recommend getting in contact with an established mentor that is used to taking learners through qualifications at degree level, so level 4, level 5, level 6. You can do it as self-study if you've indeed yourself studied at that level in another subject or another discipline. But I think although it is possible to do as a self-studied qualification, it's highly recommended that you get in contact with a mentor who can go through your work, and that really acts as formative feedback before you send in your final submission to the exam panel. The panel will give you very, very comprehensive feedback back to the learner around their submission, but you really don't want that to be kind of formative and telling you where you've gone wrong. You really want to have sort of got there before that with a mentor or a coach or a teacher.
刚才有人问说是自学好还是跟着老师学习好？那今天的讲师呢，他是认为，如果你个人没有以前参加过这个相关的类似的学习的这个经验的话，那么建议呢是跟有相关教学经验的老师来学习和指导，因为至少是有这个大学本科这样的一个教学标准的这样的一个老师，这样他对整个的要求会比较熟悉，不至于带你走弯路。Alex.
Okay, so the next question is actually the first question of the whole session was from anonymous attendee saying, I've started my diploma in drums at a level 4, and for that main double unit we've got the performance bit and then the written bit. The performance bit has been done apparently, but the essay writing is difficult. And can you give any tips? Before you answer that, Alex, I just would point out to this attendee that you don't have to write this as an essay. You can collect the information in video form, in a presentation form. You don't have to make it a huge verbose, verbal, lots and lots of words. There is a word count limit, but you can use other forms of evidencing this this stuff. So Alex, can you talk about approaches to that planning and looking at that planning phase and looking at that evaluative phase, and how's a good way to sort of synthesize and make that effective? And maybe just let Lillian translate the question.
Thank you. So 刚才他的问题，第二个问题呢是，有一个考生，他说他已经报名参加了文凭的考试，然后在表演这个环节，他也录了视频，因为同时要提交视频和自评。自评的环节呢，他是用论文的方式来写作的， 他觉得那个写作的部分是比较难，说希望能够提供一些提示。然后呢，我们在线的同事也有解释说，你的自评的部分不一定要用写论文的方式提交，你也可以用那个给自己录视频的方式，或者是用播客的形式都可以。在我们的考纲说明里也都有很详细的字数的要求。另外，如果你交的是视频或者是播客的话，也都有具体的时间长度的要求。所以现在我们就交给 Alex。
Okay, so this is a question that comes up a lot, and when I'm teaching this diplomas, what I always tell my learners is firstly, exactly what Alistair said, is that there is no requirement for it definitely to be a written submission. There are many ways of gathering evidence that are not written submissions. So it could be a presentation, it could be a video piece to camera, it could be there's many ways of doing this. It could be a filmed presentation where you're using a PowerPoint presentation but talking around it to make all of your sentient points.
所以首先他也是澄清说，你要提交的这个自评的部分不一定是一篇小论文，你可以给自己录制一个对着镜头来录制你的这个自评，你也可以做一套 PPT，然后呢，你来解说这套 PPT 也是可以的。
Now, in addition to the videoed evidence that you need to submit, you are governed by a quite specific word count for your written piece. Now, this is often a challenge for lots of learners because the word count is not that generous. It's only 1,500 words. Lillian?
OK，他说那个关于写作这个部分呢，其实可能是比较难的，因为它确实是有很强的这个很强制性的一个字数要求，就是1500字。
So to address this, the best piece of advice I can give all learners, whether it be learners undertaking this diploma or teachers that are mentoring their learners through this, is get your learners to start at the end. Get them to collect all of their research, all of their references, do all their research, get as much information as they can, which will be included within their appendices and their referencing, so that once they've collected all of that work, they can submit that work as part of the appendices or their reference work, but that will not count as their word count. Then their final report, which will be 1,500 words plus or minus 20%, will be a very succinct written piece or a very succinct presentation that will be referencing all of the research that has been carried out. Learners should bear in mind that each single unit, there is a basic requirement for about 100 hours of learning, 100 hours of practice, research, reading surrounding those units. The performance unit is a double unit. So really what the examinations panel are looking for is evidence of 200 hours of research, further reading, deep knowledge, practice, which has been executed in the performance, and then the report is referencing the learners' evidence of all of their research and all the citations and all of the further reading that they have done.
所以他这边要给大家的一个建议呢，就是说这篇小论文1500字的这个论文，他的一个建议就是说，要希望这个学习者能够尽量多的去收集相关的信息，要花很多时间去做调查研究。因为这个环节表演环节，它是一个双单元，也就是它需要200个小时的学习和练习时间。这200个小时里也包括你个人做这个研究的调查，找资料的这些时间。然后你所做的这些相关的资料，你找到的这些相关的资料都要放到你的那个附录当中，就是这个论文的附录里边。而附录的字数呢是不计在这1500字之内的，这一点也是大家要注意的，这个在考纲说明里都有详细的要求。同时呢，你在给这个学生在准备这个在备考，所以或者是你自己作为文凭的考生，在备考的时候要知道考官他重点看的，是你确实是花了有200个小时的非常充分的准备，来完成这个单元的不管是学习还是写作的这个时间。Alex.
So learners will get access to those guidance notes that have been prepared, really comprehensively prepared by the examinations panel, which should then allow learners to look at the kind of information that they're going to need to include, which should be drawn from the body of their research that they've already done. So in Alice's example, and with the question from one of our participants, it does sound like they've done it correctly in that they have done the performance and they've done their research, but I would collect all of that research first, make sure that that's in order in appendix form, so that that final report can be written in a very succinct, very informed way, using the guidance notes to make sure that all of the information is included within that submission.
所以他是刚才提问的这个考生呢，他相信应该是按照正确的步骤来做的，所以他是建议说，你先去寻找相关的资料，做好这个附录的部分，也就是你的这个检索目录的部分，然后根据这个部分你来制作你的视频，准备你的这个作文，然后这样的话，你的那个就是说这个顺序就是比较正确的一个学习和准备的顺序。Alex.
Alistair.
Yeah, thank you. There are a couple of really precise questions here from Mark. How much overlap is considered acceptable between 401, 404 or 601, 604?
I think there will be, oh, sorry, Lillian, do you want to translate that question? Sorry.
Let me see.
How much overlap is there between the 401 and 404?
好的，刚才他这个有一个第三个问题是问单元401和404或者601和604的这个重复使用率达到多少是可以接受的 ？Alex.
So it should remember they are two separate units. They are definitely, and they need to be submitted as two separate units. That doesn't mean to say that the performance unit can't be the same subject matter as the artist analysis, but it could be two different artists over a stylistic study. So you could look at, say, two jazz artists or two rock artists. So there is overlap stylistically, and if that is your, if that's your favorite style that you wish to study at this level, then that's completely acceptable and completely understandable. But the evidence that you submit needs to be standalone for each different unit. So obviously the 25-minute performance for 401 cannot be part of or the same as the 15-minute performance for 404. They need to be two separate performances.
这个重复使用材料的这个比例呢，它的解释就是说，你可以选择相同的，在两个单元当中，你可以选择相同的这个风格，相同的艺术家都可以，但是你不可以说同一个作品用在两个单元当中，因为它这两个单元的那个你要提供的所谓的依据应该是不同的，所以你应该是给两个单元准备不同的作品。
But bear in mind that those units, in the first instance, will be marked by a subject specialist. So it will be a drummer examining, or certainly someone that's got a very deep knowledge of drums and performance, evaluating those units. And it may not be the same person, marking those units. So it might be one examiner marking 401 and another examiner examining 404. So those units again need to be standalone and stand on their own merits and contain their own information and their own evidence.
但是大家也要注意到说，这两个单元的考官很可能是不同的，有可能是说在评估401或者601，如果你是一个鼓手专业，那么有可能是一个在架子鼓方面有很精深技能的知识的考官来评估这个单元，那么404单元呢，有可能是另外一位考官，所以呢，你这两个单元你所提交的这个依据，还有这个他提交的目的，都应该是围绕这个单元的要求来提供的。
Okay, so we're beginning to run out of time. There's still a few more questions, so we'll be as quick as we can. Succinct answers, please, Alex.
Yep.
Mixing genres in the 25-minute technical skills performance, is that acceptable?
it is absolutely acceptable to mix genres for the performance, as long as the stated intent is to mix up flavors. So it could be it could be the learner setting out their intention as these are the musical styles that interest me, and it is a journey from rock through to funk, soul, and jazz. So it's completely permissible for it to be a mix of different styles. Lillian.
刚才有一个有一个听众来问说，是不是我只能用一种风格来参加这个表演环节的准备？然后讲师回答呢是说，你当然是可以用多种多样的风格来完成这个25分钟的表演环节的这个录制。
Great. Next is, are candidates expected to perform entirely from memory, or can you have a score?
Candidates can have a score. I was playing from memory today purely because I know these tracks. I've taught these tracks for a long time, but no, performers, artists, participants, anybody, candidates, anyone taking this exam can read off of a score. Lillian.
OK， 还有一位听众呢问说，在录制视频的时候是不是一定要背谱？讲师的回答呢是说没有这样的强制性的要求。今天讲师是背谱，因为他平常也在教这2个曲子。那么在你录制视频的时候，不需要背谱，你可以照着乐谱来打。
But it should be noted that for a lot of these performance videos, an audience of more than 2 people is required.
还要注意到说，我们后边有一个在那个考纲当中有要求的，说是需要包含在你的视频当中，应该至少有2个观众。Alex.
Okay. Good. The last, another question on the kind of spoken evidence around the performance, content is, what if our English isn't quite as good as a native speaker? Will that mark me down if my grammar isn't very good, or I'm using maybe more simple language?
The quick answer is no. The examinations panel are very sympathetic to international candidates. Obviously, it does need to be presented in English, but I think I'm right in that, Alistair. That it does need to be presented in English, but the examinations panel will see through that, and it's really the content and the depth of knowledge that's being evidenced that is going to be judged by the panel, rather than pure grammar, grammar and spelling and use of English language.
他还有一个听众呢，他问说，我的英语不是特别好，那么我会不会影响到我的成绩？讲师这边的解释呢，就是说从考官那边的角度呢，他们很习惯来这个审阅世界上其他国家的考生提交上来的作业和这个提交的资料，所以在评估的时候，他们的重点是你提交的这个作业的深度和广度，而不是说去针对你的语法、用词等等这些地方去打分的。
Yep.
Okay. I think we're just about out of time. There have been a couple of questions about other exam boards, and as an RSL man, I'm not going to comment on the other ones. But Alex, I don't know how much experience you have of, LCM or ABRSM or Trinity, and just how do our diplomas compare to the things that they offer? Qualifications wise, they're in the same framework level. But any comments on that, and don't feel obliged to say too much if you don't know too much.
No, as you know, I have taught over other syllabuses, other awarding bodies, and for other qualifications. For my own usage, I always revert back to RSL as a structure, as a syllabus structure, because having used it for a number of years, I can see that there is continuity from literally from the basic grades up through the graded syllabus, and then that continues along that mastery road within these professional diplomas. So for me, as an educator, trying to find the perfect vehicle for my learners, I've used RSL and have always used RSL because it fits together nicely, and there is continuity literally from the lower grades up until this high level, and you can reference it backwards and forwards, because often our learners are going to go on and become educators, and they will find that it's a lot easier to teach from the RSL syllabus because of that continuity. So my critique of other awarding bodies and other syllabuses is that they are very good and they are of the same standard, but that continuity piece is not there. It looks like, it feels like it's been put together by different people that haven't necessarily thought it through literally from the ground up. Whereas my experience of using the RSL syllabus is that there is a definite rationale. There's a continuing theme literally from the baby grades right up until level 6 professional diplomas. I mean, that's literally me in the field being an educator teaching. That's my experience.
刚才这个问题呢是有听众问说 RSL 的这些资格考试的项目和英国其他的这个资格考试项目，像英皇、圣三一还有伦敦音乐学院相比有什么区别和不同点？那么从 RSL 本身来讲呢，我们不对其他的这个同行做这个评估，但是呢，我们知道说英皇、圣三一还有伦敦音乐学院还有 RSL 在英国来讲都是在相同的一个体系教学体系框架之内的。那么我们今天的讲师呢，他的看法呢，就是说，他进行教学也有很多年了，他一直在用 RSL 的东西，是因为RSL 的东西呢是有非常严谨的这样的一个连续性，当你不管你是从一个很小的年龄，然后完全没有这个架子鼓的或者这个音乐的这个知识开始上手，一直到把你培养成一个专业6级的这样的一个专业人士，它的内容是非常连续性，有非常强的这个连贯性和连续性。同时呢，老师使用这套材料上手教学是非常的容易的。这个也是我自己培养出来的学生，他们将来有朝一日也会成为老师，他们也在用相同的材料进行教学。那么呢，讲师他说他也有看到其他的一些英国的考试委员会的这些书籍、这些考纲，他的感觉就是这些书籍的这些曲目的选择、材料的组织上边，感觉不是同一个人完成的，是由不同的人组合起来，所以它之间的连贯性和连续性显得都没有 RSL 的东西好。而 RSL 材料呢，它是因为连续性很强，所以你可以往上看，你也可以往回看，往低等级去看，它都有非常强的这个参考意义，而且它的逻辑性呢是非常强的。好 ，Alex。
Okay, so last question before we wrap up is a summary of a few questions together. He's asking about repertoire again. So number one is, what about repertoire for other instruments? Let me answer that by saying we have the indicative repertoire lists across different instruments that'll give you a guide, but don't forget you're not bound by that. You don't have to use that indicative repertoire. And actually, arguably, it's better to curate your own playlist for the diplomas, because it's really then coming from your learning, your research. But how, I guess that the sort of second bit and really important bit is, how do you get the song list approved?
There is an approval form that needs to be filled in by the learner or by the mentor, coach, teacher, and sent to RSL before the summative evidence is submitted. So there's facility there for the learner to get their repertoire approved before they've gone a long way down that road to produce that video. You're exactly right, Alistair, in that often there are indicative lists, and obviously that list grows as more music and more performances are submitted. But I would always encourage my learners to find performance material that they enjoy and they like and that is challenging, and that's really what the exams panel are looking for, and that's going to give you even more to write about in your evidence, in your evaluative evidence that you're going to submit alongside your performance video.
刚才这个问题是问说关于曲目的选择上边，这个问题的回答呢是说，当你注册报名的时候，会给你开通 RSL 加密云端的这个权限，然后你就可以下载到推荐曲目清单，这个是不管你报什么乐器，哪一个专业，它都是有这个推荐曲目清单的。你可以用这些曲目清单上的作品，你也可以选你自己喜欢的作品，你甚至可以使用原创作品，但是一定要在那个你录制视频之前，先填好这个曲目批准审批的这个表格，这是有一个统一模板的一个表格，然后把表格发给 RSL 进行审批。拿到审批之后呢，你再围绕这个曲目去准备你相应的这个后边的这些工作。Alex.
So I think that leaves me just to say thanks very much for attending, everybody. I hope the session was useful. I'll drop the link again into the chat for the route, if you like, of where you can find all the information on diplomas off our site. There are lots of guidance videos in there, the different pathways and these performance diplomas as well. And any questions, hit us up at either your contact details for our China office with Lillian or the info@rslawards.com email address that I'm just dropping in that as well, and we'll look after you. So thanks very much, Alex. Thanks very much, Lillian, for all the translation. I know that's hard work and particularly not simultaneous. So, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.
那就谢谢大家今天参加这个网上宣讲会。他刚才英国的同事他已经把那个英国网站上关于文凭的链接发在我们今天的这个对话窗口当中。那么如果后续因为今天有一些中文听众的问题呢，我们没有能够全部回答。后续如果有什么其他的问题，我们可以线下大家可以中文听众可以再来大陆的听众可以再来联系我。我把中文网站的链接也发在这里。I'm sending the Chinese link in the chat window.
Perfect. Okay, and Lillian, you'll edit this webinar recording and we can go from there, yeah?
Yeah, thank you.
All good. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye-bye, session.
谢谢。
Bye-bye, session.